People are using survivors and victims of child sex abuse for their own political gain, and it's got to stop. It's got to stop.
None of my friends have come here raping any women.
Fuck the law. The law is written by the rich.
Your skin colour doesn't reflect the party that you support.
It's a case of the ultra-rich versus the rest of us.
The zeitgeist is with reform.
I think the left is fighting on many fronts.
We'll have a chat over there. Come on.
Lads, what's happening?
Welcome to Brum, my home city, and where Reform UK are hosting their largest ever rally.
Last year, the disruptors of British politics returned 5 MPs to Parliament, coming third overall in the vote share.
And whilst those numbers don't differ too much from UKIP's performance in the 2015 general election, it seems as though the media class in this country just can't get enough of them.
In particular, their ability to turn out some of the most coveted voter groups, swing voters in the red wall, non-voters, and most hand-wringingly of all, young men.
And I should know, I stood against Farage in Clacton for Labour at the last general election.
So, as two young guys who support Labour, we thought it was time to look past the mainstream headlines and find out for ourselves. Why is everyone glazing reform?
As almost 10,000 members and supporters of Reform UK pulled up to Birmingham for the rally, we turned up to the arena.
But as we got to the gates, we clocked it wasn't just reform people who wanted to make their voices heard.
I was abused by the Catholic Church. I was put into sort of satanic ritual abuses. I then spent 25 years homeless as an addict, running away from the abuse. I met dozens, if not hundreds, of young children who ended up on the streets of London, many who had run away from the care system, and many who was very quickly thrown into a life of crime and addiction, caught up by the pimps and the drug dealers, and many were my friends for many years, and many disappeared, and I never ever forget that. Mr Farage came out about 2 or 3 months ago, and he stated he was going to do a UK-wide national inquiry into the grooming gangs, and then all of a sudden they backtracked. Nothing was mentioned. And I think a lot of people felt angry because, and I'm not just talking about the survivors and the campaigners, we're talking about people who are in the Reform Party, that what we're seeing here is, once again, people are using survivors and victims of child sex abuse for their own political gain, and it's got to stop. It's got to stop.
What was your experience today? So you had to move, right? You set up earlier and then you had to move?
Well, we went round the back first, and there was a load of campaigners with Euro flags, and we put our banner up, this banner here, and these people come over and said, what you protesting? I said, well, we're asking for a national inquiry into the grooming gangs, and the guy said, what grooming gangs is that? I said, it doesn't matter whether it's Asian, white, Chinese. Oh, Asian, so you're a racist, are you? And then they attacked us, threw us away. I thought, listen, hang on, we're not racists. How dare you? We've got a situation in Scotland at the moment with 3 young children who were groomed by a white gang. It went on for 10 years, affected the whole nation. People are asking, why was this kept silent? Why is nobody talking about this? And when we talk about the Asian gang, everybody seems to focus on the Asian without realising this is a national problem that affects every nationality and every race. We're not a political party. We're survivors and campaigners of child sex abuse. And all we're asking is, for once, please, let's all come together and put our children first. And we say this message to Mr Lowe, who's come out today saying he's going to do a national inquiry. You need to talk to the people with the real lived experience. We're crying out for our voices to be heard. And it's so easy. It's the easiest thing in the world for these people in positions of power to manipulate, to exploit, to discredit, to silence, to make false allegations. We hear it all the time. The biggest weapon that these people have got is the silence of the people of Britain.
That was heavy, but to be honest, I was struck by Dave's willingness to have a conversation. And it wasn't just him who had set up there.
We are just here to try to have a conversation with people that are coming to this reform conference. It would be better to sit down with people because there's a lot of anger going around, and I think that people want to be heard. So I think this would be a better kind of format for people to be heard.
Are you from an organisation or did you just decide to do this yourselves?
Decided to do this ourselves. We heard about the protests for this and we went to a public meeting. Me and Hugh spoke to each other and we said, we feel like having a sit down, probably more conversational style was probably a bit more poignant. We're not necessarily saying we're for or against, we just want to know why people are coming to this.
Why do you think people are voting for reform?
I think it's a lot of floating voters and non-voters as well that are just sick of it all, and they feel like reform's the best party to voice their concern maybe on particular issues, or just be a protest vote. With this new iteration, to hit the ground running with MPs and probably new councillors in May and maybe even a by-election win, I think that needs to be looked at.
We'd been blown off course a bit by chatting to these guys, but it was time to return exactly as to why we were there. Luckily, Graham from Essex was down for a chat.
I feel very disillusioned with the state of politics in this country at the moment, and I feel like we need to explore alternatives other than the Uni-Party, the Tories and the Labour Party.
And Mr. Farage, he's your guy?
He is my guy. There's a little bit of a rift at the moment, obviously. I don't know, I kind of relate to him. I just kind of feel that he talks the truth, really. I kind of like Rupert Lowe as well, but obviously it's decision time there. But I just genuinely feel that the majority of politicians these days are they're just in it for their own ends. They're just climbing the greasy pole, that politics is just a career thing. And I kind of feel with reform, because there's not an established nature, that you're going to find that if they get 650 MPs from local people, they might be inexperienced, but I think there's more chance of a degree of integrity with it, because I think that it is generally time for change, and I don't mean the sort of change that we've been delivered over the last 9 months.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Back again past Dave, we made our way onto the concourse, looking for anyone who was up for a chat.
Why are you here today?
Curiosity.
Curiosity. Have you voted Reform in the past, or?
Yeah, I voted them at the general election.
And you want to see Reform form the next government, maybe?
I don't know. Like I say, at the minute, I'm not here as a supporter as such. I'm more out of curiosity. There's a lot of people voted for things and haven't got it.
What are those things?
Immigration is the main one, I'd say. Unfortunately, I think the way it's been framed is immigration has just been labelled as racist. Basically, it's been tackled quite simply. It's not really been looked at properly. Reform, I don't know. They're probably a bit too the other way for me, as they are, because I'm one of them people that distrusts the mainstream media a bit, which is why I want it to come down, because I actually wouldn't trust any reporting done on this from the outside. The people who would be not the mainstream reporting on it would be too for it, would be too supportive of it, and would iron out things the other way.
What do you think needs to change in the UK, if anything does need to change?
The bureaucracy of the civil service, who are not living in reality, because they get an income no matter what. There's too many people in London who are running the country who are just out of touch with working people.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Enjoy the rally.
What was your name?
Javan.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
All right, yeah.
It's all right. See you later.
What's left?
Aaron didn't strike me as a guy who was set in stone for reform, unlike Graham, but he wasn't alone.
Try and get some information, really. So much misinformation on the media at the moment. It's really difficult to fathom what's actually going on and what's accurate. So trying to get it from the horse's mouth, as I say, you're still going in realistically blind to what people's genuine motives are, because we never know what's really going on behind the scenes. They'll portray what they want us to hear. So there's probably misinformation in all areas.
Even people that I trust or influencers that I trust, I still take it with a pinch of salt, because they may be wrong and I don't know where they got their information from.
What do you think social media has done for our information?
I think it's thrown out any real value behind people's opinion. So many people are either radicalised into being flat earth, which we were discussing earlier, they're radicalised onto immigration, or they're radicalised onto false budgets and manifestos being handed over.
What do you think is left of Britain?
Quite a strong heritage. History isn't going anywhere, and I think that what this country's achieved, considering its size and considering where it came from, is nothing short of impressive. Whether you agree with the motives or not, whether you agree with the ethics or not, is another thing. But I'm proud to be British.
Yeah, I love the country. I'm an ex-Royal Air Force engineer myself, so served for nearly 10 years in the military. I'm very patriotic, proud to be British. I think we have an awful lot to offer the world. I think we have an awful lot to offer each other. I think we just need to stop being as divisive with each other and try and get along a bit more harmoniously.
What do you think of the political left?
I think that the political left probably has their heart in the right place. I think that what I tend to see with people that I know is that experience beats some of the left out of people.
I think there's a lot of division put in people now, so it's extreme left or extreme right. It's very, very rare that you get a neutrality between people. I mean, hence the need for exactly what we've just seen. Police being around, there's a lot of discourse in the country and people can't converse openly, so it's just against them.
Final question, Rupert or Nigel?
I'll wait for the end of tonight on that one, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the same. I'm just gonna wait and see this evening what we hear.
Makes it sound like a boxing match.
Yeah.
It might be. We'll see what happens.
We'll see, definitely, yeah.
Cheers, fellas.
The rally was soon about to kick off, but we hadn't yet spoken to that most sought-after voter, the Gen Z male reformer. And the ones we did see weren't up for being on camera.
So we cut our losses and decided to follow the noise to the counter rally.
But as we got closer, we heard more and more commotion. Then this happened.
Mate, I'm not being funny, mate. What the have a chat over there.
Lads, what's happening?
He wandered into the crowd and tried to grab a placard, and then he started being aggressive towards a couple of people, including myself, and then a fight erupted.
That's what he wanted to fight as well. You reckon?
No, because I know him. He didn't. No, I don't really.
Oh, I thought you said.
He's not really like that.
No.
I know him really well. He's not really like that.
We missed it all kicking off, and now the crowd had dispersed to their next spot for the demonstration.
This had been organised by Stand Up to Racism. Another one, a few hundred yards away, was organised by the Coventry MP Zara Sultana. But why were they split?
Can I just tell you, I'm very disappointed at the turnout. It's not very good.
Let's talk about it. Yeah, go on.
Why are you here today?
Because Birmingham is a multicultural, mixed up, fantastic community, and we don't want wankers like Farage here causing trouble. And can I just tell you, on my way down here, I was just trying to find the procession on my own, and I just saw these two guys next to me. I said, "Are you going to the demonstration?" Then I looked and thought, "Oh shit, I'm in trouble," and realised they were opposite. And he said, "Well, they come here raping our women, don't they?" And they do. And I said, "No, none of my friends have come here raping any women." But it was kind of shitty. It really is horrible. That is the line that they take. They don't know anything.
And is that what you think of the Reform supporters?
Yes, hate them. Idiots, stupid, thick. Well, they don't understand, do they? Because they don't live or try to understand other communities or anything. It's horrible. I've lived on the same place for 32 years. I've never been burgled. I go away. I know I'm the only white person on my avenue, and I just think the whole world's gone completely mad. And I want younger people to get more involved and to be out here and not leave it to us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
We just want to say a quick hello.
Want to say hi.
Hello.
Hello. And why are you here today?
Because I hate Nigel Farage. He is a fascist. He's a racist. He's an elitist. He has no humility and he has no humanity. Well, they're just all far-right people, aren't they? That, in my opinion, all they believe in is white supremacy, white versus brown, if you know what I mean. I live in a city that is multiracial. I believe in multiracial society. I believe in one world, basically. I believe in a world with no boundaries, but it's impossible.
It wasn't just older people who wanted to make their voices heard, but a debate was starting to emerge on the ground.
Why is he cutting benefits to the most vulnerable elements of society?
Happened yet. That's ongoing.
Just hang on, what does your sign say?
It says bring about change from within, vote Labour at the local elections. I forgot to write that part.
Can you explain your sign?
I just think people should support the Labour Party. They're the voice of socialism. They're the voice against nationalism, and which leads to fascism. I think people forget that they did a lot of great work founding the NHS throughout the 20th century. Second half of the 20th century, and yeah, I don't buy this uniparty rhetoric.
And for you, who's responsible for dividing the political left?
I'd say it's the failure of the left reformists that has led to division and confusion. Corbyn has disappeared into obscurity now. We're all out here and not at Zara Sultana's rally.
In the end, what change have you seen from the government except the poor are getting poorer, the rich are getting richer, and that's it. We're all getting in a worse off and worse off position.
Fuck the law. The law is written by the rich. The law is written to protect private property. We are the revolutionary Communist Party. We stand for revolution at disregard to the law. Just last year, there was a revolution in Kenya. There was a revolution in Bangladesh.
It's being called the first revolution led by Gen Z. At least 25 people have been killed in clashes with police.
The Bangladesh Prime Minister has resigned and left the country.
Disappearances and human rights abuses during Sheikh Hasina's tenure as Prime Minister.
Young Kenyans are demonstrating for their rights. They're demonstrating with flags and banners.
People angry over planned tax hikes has turned deadly.
I can't even see anymore.
Protesters have breached the Parliament building.
They're being tear gassed.
5 people are reported dead.
Do you think that could work here? What, a mass revolution? Yes, of course. Yes. Well, that's why with the Revolutionary Communist Party, that's what we're building. It will be a protracted revolution. It will take a long time.
I just can't even see that ever happening in this country. It's not who the British people are. They're not violent.
So we'd spoken to the people, but we hadn't heard yet from the organisations behind this demo.
When I heard a talk from Just Stop Oil and I realised how bad the climate crisis was, Just Stop Oil were the only people I found that were doing anything about that and anything about the real problem behind all of that, which is capitalism. And the ultra-rich are trying to divide and conquer, as they always do. That's what their tactics are. So we are too busy fighting each other rather than fighting them. Farage is a millionaire. I don't know how people can fall for the fact that he says he's a man of the people. He doesn't care. He doesn't suffer like everybody else. He doesn't care about the rest of us. The whole of the UK, I don't know how anybody can claim to be English, pure English blood. We were invaded that many times by Saxons, Vikings, our language is made of German, Latin, Viking, there's bits of French in there, there's even bits of Spanish in there, so even the language isn't even pure. The cost of living crisis, food's going up all the time. People like Farage will come in and they will tell them this bullshit, that it's the people come to this country that they're taking all your jobs, they're taking your women, all this rubbish, it's their fault that the prices of food are going up, and it's not. We all know it's the billionaires, the greedy rich. They are taking all the money, putting machines in and taking all the jobs with their machines and the AI, which is how it will go as well. The left is divided, yeah. There's too many agendas, but it's not a case of left and right anymore. It's a case of the ultra-rich versus the rest of us. That's what it's really going on here.
What's left? Yeah, look for it. Cheers.
As we spoke to more people, it wasn't clear to me why they were here and hadn't joined forces with the counter-rally.
I think the left is fighting on many fronts, and they're also disorientated by what this government is doing. So we're trying to bring that together and form a challenge. Look at what's happened in Runcorn, where the candidate has come out and said that you should shut down the refugee hotels. What does this lead to? This leads to what happened on our streets last summer.
I utterly condemn the far-right thuggery we've seen this weekend. Be in no doubt, those that have participated in this violence will face the full force of the law.
Do you think there's a problem around immigration?
No, I certainly don't think there's a problem around immigration. I think that there's a problem around the rhetoric around immigration. I think that actually every time you look at it, that it is not the refugees or migrants that cause the problems in our country. I mean, the statistics show we don't take that many. At the moment in Britain, there's a lot of despair, and the far right can feed off of that. What we've actually got to do is create, a massive movement that identifies actually, I think, the anti-racist feeling that exists in the majority of this country, and says that actually Nigel Farage can be stopped.
Do you think there's a bigger issue in the UK than racism?
If you look at the surge of the far right across the world, the wars on woke, the attacks on trans rights, but I think that racism is the sharpest end of the attacks that are happening right now. Particularly racism that is targeted at migrants, refugees and Muslims. And I think that, actually we can create a massive anti-racist movement that can be a shield and that can bring in all the other struggles together.
If you could talk to a Reform voter right now, what would you say to them?
Well, I think that there are a lot of Reform voters that are ordinary people that feel let down. I think there are a lot of Reform supporters that I wouldn't speak to. I mean, I was campaigning in Clacton, for example.
You know him then?
Yeah.
Do you think Javan could have won?
I think that more people would have identified.
Javan, do you think you could have won?
I think so. We put forward a progressive, positive, inclusive message. So, yeah, I do believe we could have won, absolutely.
Sorry, we'll go back.
I think more people would have identified with a principled candidate than just another soft person that's got nothing to say. People say that the left is divided and the right is united. Actually, I think that the right is riven with divisions as well, but they do have a politics that they're trying to push, which is a politics of scapegoating. Things are becoming way more polarised. The centre ground is collapsing, so I think it's a real question of how you build the alternative to the right, which is going further right.
It was really nice to know that people came out to support our campaign down in Clacton. But as the crowd petered out, I couldn't really gather whether there was much appetite for an alternative for the left outside of the Labour Party.
We decided to give it one last shot and headed back to the arena in pursuit of that elusive Gen Z reform voter.
It is much colder than expected, so we've had to buy a scarf.
But again, it was proving very difficult.
Well, I went from Labour, New Labour with Tony Blair, to Conservatives because I thought they were interested in business and so on, but they fell apart. I'm interested in whoever's best for Britain. The zeitgeist is with reform.
What do you like most about what reform has to say?
The common sense of it, cutting through the bullshit, to be honest. The economics of it, we're 3 trillion in debt. From the immigration point of view, again, just on the numbers, you're talking $1 million a year, if that's even the true top figure. It's open borders, it's please yourself, and you can't blame the people coming here totally. We've allowed it, and that I hold the politicians responsible.
Mass deportations?
Possibly, yes, but just shutting the borders till we know what the hell's going on, and then inviting people with work visas who we need, skilled people, not just anybody that turns up in a boat.
Rupert or Nigel?
Nigel for now. It's got to have some loyalty, but you can't just swap leaders like you swap shirts.
That's the Tory thing.
I can't keep up with who's the leader of the Tory party. They've swapped so many times.
Another old man. But our luck had changed.
You know what though? I don't care if this is a anti one. I don't care.
No, bro, genuinely, mate. We want to talk to.
Do you want to do this one?
Yeah, I'll do this one. Go on, it's recorded. What's your name, bro?
Matt.
Matt.
But this guy's Labour. I recognise him.
Yeah,
He's Labour.
He is. But you know what I do? Okay, there you go. There you go. There you go. It's not anti. We just want to talk to people.
Just when we thought it wasn't meant to be, this happened.
Boys, we were just at the rally.
Yes.
What's the energy saying? What's the vibe?
It's brilliant. Lots, big energy. Yeah, everyone's very excited.
You know. So you feel super positive right now?
Yeah, I'm feeling good.
But how do you feel about Britain?
Rubbish. Rubbish. Yeah, I don't like it at all at the moment. Need some serious change. Everyone's struggling. Labour's not doing what they say they would do, which is making things better for everybody, for the working class especially. So we've come here to show our patriotism.
You know, a lot's been said about like young guys going towards reform. Are you seeing that amongst like your friendship group, that a lot of young lads?
100%, yeah. Huge shift to the right in terms of young people.
Why is that?
I actually don't know. I know that at universities it's more of a shift to the left, so it's quite the contrast. But in terms of outside of uni, I see more young people shifting to the right. If you say, I support Reform UK or things like that, the left will jump on the bandwagon of saying you're racist, you're far right, this, that. And most of them don't honestly know why, and they don't read into it. That's the dangerous part of the left.
People want change. I mean, look around you, everyone's complaining about taxes and everything, so I feel it's just justified that we need a change.
The Tories and Labour, they're a uniparty. They do the same thing. You know what I mean? It's switching from one side of the coin to the other. Finally, we've got a third party in who are proposing something different, and it's showing in the polls. So.
Do people get surprised that you as a young man support reform? Like when you talk to your mates about, or maybe not your mates about politics, what do they say?
Yes, 100%. What I get told, well, your skin colour doesn't reflect the party that you support. But if you actually listen to Reform and don't make up nonsense, you'll actually realise they stand for British values, not one specific skin colour. In terms of being British, that's what they care about. So contributing to the country, you know what I mean? Not coming here and just taking or sending money to another country and things like that. Actually coming here, working, contributing to the economy, that's what's important.
What's been your experience as a Reform voter, as someone who comes to the rallies, as you just said, being a non-white person?
Non-white person, yeah. No, it's been fine. I've not once have I felt like people are staring at me or anything. Everyone, I mean, Nigel Farage himself, he said, we don't care about your skin colour, we don't care about your orientation, we care about if you believe in our values, and everyone cheered. You know, and I was looking around, I'm seeing more mixed people as well than I've ever seen before. People are getting more comfortable coming out here, because obviously it's a scary thing coming to a right-wing party in the United Kingdom. People actually being able to come here of all different skin colours, comfortably is a nice thing.
Would you run for Reform? You're a very articulate young man.
Thank you. I've thought about getting into politics, but because I don't know what the consequences of that would be, you know what I mean, in terms of my career and stuff, and although I am on YouTube right now, so yeah, maybe.
Nice. So we need to explain ourselves a little bit, don't we?
Seems so.
Why are we here?
We're here literally just to try and understand why people are maybe turning to reform and just see what's underlying all of that. So we've had a fair few interesting conversations. I mean, what have been your thoughts?
Everyone surprised me. I think that the reform guys seem really curious, and the main reason that they're here is because they want to learn. The people who are counter-rallying know that something's not quite right, and they actually have a bit of empathy for the people from reform, but I also sense that they don't necessarily want to talk to them too much.
I would also say that pretty much everyone here knows that something's going wrong, politically, economically, socially, societally. And so there's just a lot of curiosity, a lot of interest to see what alternative exists. And it seems, at least from being here today, that for the many people that we've come across, there isn't much of an alternative. And so that's why they're turning to these kind of spaces and listening to some of these voices. So I don't know, it's been quite interesting just to see the curiosity of the British electorate and seeing it all at play.
I mean, we don't have the answers, but we'd quite like to find out. So if you're interested and you want to figure out what's left, join us.